Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Full Armor of God, and I've been looking over some of these prophetic words and with what's going on currently with the astronauts from the Starliner that are stuck on the International Space Station. As you can see here, on Wednesday, July 12th, I had a vision of a planet with a metal bracket attached to it in outer space at 2:42 p.m. And I didn't even know what this was. And I didn't know anything about the astronauts' mission that were sent into outer space on June 5th. So far, they've been there for 67 days. I'm recording this on August 11th, a Sunday. They've been there for 67 days. I think they were only supposed to be there 8 days. But let me show you the picture that I took off of my television of what looked very similar to what I had seen in my vision, and then give you some more details about these two astronauts. This is what I saw in my vision. It reminded me of a planet, but it had like a metal, like a circle around it, and it kind of looked like a gear. If you notice here at the top, there's like the bright light behind that black thing that's jetting out at the top. I took a picture of this off of ABC News World Tonight. That's what I saw in my vision, so I wanted to stop my DVR and take a picture of it so that I could explain this to you. I had a feeling that it was important, but I had no idea what it was. So I come to find out later that this was a picture of the Starliner. I'm pretty sure that's what this was a picture of. When did Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams launch into space on Starliner?
According to WKRN, even before Wilmore and Williams blasted off June 5th, their capsule sprang a leak in propulsion-related plumbing. Boeing and NASA judged the small helium leak to be stable and isolated, and proceeded with the test flight. But as Starliner approached the space station the next day, 4 more leaks erupted.
Did Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore arrive at the International Space Station on June 9th?
According to ABC News, the Walt Disney Company, since their arrival on June 6, Wilmore and Williams have completed half of all hands-on research time conducted aboard the space station, allowing their crewmates to prepare for the departure of Northrop Grumman's Cygnus spacecraft, NASA wrote in a recent update.
How long have the astronauts on Starliner been in outer space?
According to CNN, they've now been on the space station more than 60 days, however, and NASA raised the possibility this week that they may remain there through early 2025 because of ongoing issues with their Starliner capsule.
To rescue Boeing Starliner astronauts from the ISS. As of today, Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore have been at the International Space Station for over 2 months. They launched in a Boeing Starliner spacecraft on June 5th. We still don't know when they're coming back, and at this point, we don't even know what kind of spacecraft they will be returning in, a SpaceX Crew Dragon or Boeing Starliner. But how would a SpaceX rescue even work? What would happen to the Starliner spacecraft attached to the ISS? And can Boeing Starliner still be certified for operational flights without returning with crew? Let's break down this complicated issue. Let's start with what we know. I did a deep dive into what might be going on behind the scenes at NASA, as well as a comprehensive look on what Boeing Starliner's problems are, so check that out if you need to get up to speed. Here's where we are now. Thanks to extensive testing on the ground and the ISS, Boeing thinks they have found the root cause of the helium leaks and thruster failures. But not everyone at NASA is convinced on Starliner's safety. What NASA is focusing on specifically is that there is a Teflon seal that's deformed. Bubbling is the word that's been used to describe it. They think that's happening because the doghouses, which is where the thrusters are located, are getting much hotter than expected when the thrusters are firing. This is vaporizing propellant, and these vapors are affecting the Teflon seals. At least that's what they think, but NASA is struggling to find a concrete explanation as to why the Teflon is behaving this way. The problem is they just aren't certain. If the thrusters aren't able to hold Starliner's attitude steady during reentry maneuvers, and if at the same time there's a catastrophic helium leak or multiple leaks that disable the OMAC thrusters, that could strand the astronauts. This is a serious issue. They can likely fix all of these problems in future versions of Starliner, but is this one safe? This is obviously all worst case scenarios, and the likelihood of this kind of integrative failure happening is very small, but it does exist. For any flight, NASA calculates a loss of crew statistic. It's standard practice. The requirement for commercial crew providers is 1/270. Boeing's before the launch of CFT was 1/295. It's probably not that now. As a comparison, SpaceX's loss of crew statistic for their crew demonstration mission was 1/276. At a press conference today, NASA acknowledged for the first time that the SpaceX Crew Dragon rescue option is one that they are seriously considering and planning for, even going so far as to lay out what the contingency options are. Right now, I want to be clear about this. Nothing has been decided. NASA would still prefer to return Boeing Starliner astronauts in Starliner. But they have acknowledged that there's enough uncertainty at NASA to warrant laying out this backup option. Here is how a SpaceX rescue would work if it were to happen. Right now on the ISS, there are 4 Crew 8 astronauts and the 2 Boeing Starliner astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams, in addition to the Russian cosmonauts. That means both docking ports on the Harmony module of the ISS are taken, one by Crew 8's Crew Dragon and one by Boeing's Starliner. The way having crew at the ISS works is that there always have to be enough seats on vehicles to evacuate the crew on board at any time. That means they can't just send Sunny and Butch home on the Crew 8 vehicle and leave 2 of those astronauts up there without anything to take them home if there's an emergency. This brings us to Crew 9. NASA announced yesterday that they are delaying the launch of Crew 9, which was previously scheduled for August 18th. That is getting pushed more than a month to no earlier than Tuesday, September 24th. NASA generally likes to do what they call a direct handover when it comes to space station crews. They want the crews to overlap. That can't happen if Boeing Starliner is still docked. So here's the plan, and again, I want to stress that this hasn't been greenlit. This is just an option NASA can take advantage of if they see the need to. Boeing Starliner will autonomously undock and return to Earth. That would happen in early September. There's basically a landing window every 4 days for Starliner starting September 2nd. Then Crew 9 would launch on September 24th with just 2 astronauts, not 4. So it would be 2 astronauts, 2 extra spacesuits, and 2 empty seats. NASA would put ballast in those seats to ensure that they mimic the mass of an astronaut. Butch and Sunny would basically become the 2 additional members of Crew 9 and fulfill those astronauts' responsibilities for a long-duration ISS stay. It's not clear who would get bumped from that flight, but a safe bet is that the commander and pilot would be the ones to go up. Butch and Sunny have trained extensively for this because NASA has always known there is this risk with a crew test flight that a long-duration stay on the ISS would be necessary. Crew 9 is scheduled to last about 180 days, so Butch and Sunny would come home in February 2025, turning an 8-day mission into an 8-month mission. When does NASA have to decide this? Probably in the next week or 2. They need enough time to make that Crew 9 launch date. Plus, there are some modifications that must be made to Boeing Starliner for autonomous undocking. That software is on the spacecraft, but it hasn't been used since OFT-2 in 2022. They basically need to dust it off and update it because there have been changes in the orientation of the ISS since that flight. They need to have time to make those changes and test it out before it's used. That'll take time. They will also have to modify the Crew 8 capsule to handle 2 extra astronauts before Boeing Starliner undocks. Why? Well, remember what I said about every astronaut having a way off the ISS. They have to have that contingency configuration for Butch and Sunny until Crew 9 arrives. Indications are that NASA is prepared to have Butch and Sunny stay on the ISS for a longer period of time. Remember back when Starliner launched and NASA put an important repair part for the urine processor on board that spacecraft? If you missed it, check out my video. Well, they had to pull some of Butch and Sunny's suitcases off Boeing's Starliner to accommodate that part. They sent up those suitcases on an uncrewed resupply mission that docked with the ISS on Tuesday. The bottom line is that it is possible, but not easy, to bring Butch and Sunny home on a SpaceX Crew Dragon. NASA has made the contingency plans and is just waiting for more data. They're running every test they can think of on this Teflon, doing modeling, trying to figure out how it acts when exposed to different temperatures.
Who is the CEO of the SpaceX program?
According to Comparably, Elon Musk serves as the CEO, president of SpaceX.
For how many years have NASA and Boeing been working together?
According to Britannica, in 1993 NASA selected Boeing as the prime contractor for the ISS, and 2 years later the company became responsible for the integration and verification of ISS systems and the design, analysis, manufacture, verification, and delivery of the American components of the station.
Why is NASA relying on SpaceX to get the astronauts home off of the International Space Station?
According to Fox Weather, NASA managers said they have asked SpaceX to work on plans to bring home the 2 astronauts who have been in space since early June because of issues with Boeing's Starliner spacecraft.
So this whole thing with SpaceX coming to the rescue in the Dragon spacecraft reminded me of when William Shatner went up into outer space. I believe it was in October of 2022, and I did find some information about that, about his reaction when he came back, and I found it quite the contradiction, because when he immediately came back and they were interviewing him, he was very happy and ecstatic about his trip, but later on he reported something else. Let me show you. So I found this article on Variety.com. It says, William Shatner, my trip to space filled me with overwhelming sadness, exclusive. This was posted October 6th, 2022. And like I said previously, at first he said he was ecstatic over returning, from space. It was a complete 180-degree turn. And now from his book, it says here, in this exclusive excerpt from William Shatner's new book, Boldly Go, Reflections on a Life of Awe and Wonder, the Star Trek actor reflects on his voyage into space on Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin space shuttle on October 13th, 2021. Then 90 years old, Shatner became the oldest living person to travel into space, but as the actor and author details below, he was surprised by his own reaction to the experience. Okay, then it gives you an idea as to what took place. It says here in quotation marks down a little bit further in this article, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about anything. It's all okay. Sure, easy for them to say. I thought they get to stay here on the ground. During our preparation, we had gone up 11 flights of the gantry to see what it would be like when the rocket was there. We were then escorted to a thick cement room with oxygen tanks. What's this room for? I asked casually. Oh, you guys will rush in here if the rocket explodes. A Blue Origin fellow responded just as casually. Aha, a safe room, 11 stories up in case the rocket explodes. Well, at least they've thought of it. When the day finally arrived, I couldn't get the Hindenburg out of my head. Not enough to cancel. Of course, I hold myself to be a professional and I was booked. The show had to go on. We got ourselves situated inside the pod. You have to strap yourself in a specific order in the simulator. I did nail it every time. So as I sat there waiting to take off, the importance of navigating weightlessness to get back and strap into the seat correctly was at the forefront of my mind. That and the Hindenburg crash. Then there was a delay. Sorry, folks, there's a slight anomaly in the engine. It'll just be a few moments. An anomaly in the engine? That sounds kind of serious, doesn't it? An anomaly is something that does not belong. What is currently in the engine that doesn't belong there? More importantly, why would they tell us that? There is a time for unvarnished honesty. I get that. This wasn't it. Apparently, the anomaly wasn't too concerning because 30 seconds later we were cleared for launch and the countdown began. With all the attending noise, fire, and fury, we lifted off. I could see Earth disappearing as we ascended. I was at once aware of pressure, gravitational forces pulling at me, the G's. There was an instrument that told us how many G's we were experiencing. At 2 G's, I tried to raise my arm and could barely do so. At 3 G's, I felt my face being pushed down into my seat. I don't know how much more of this I can take, I thought. Will I pass out? Will my face melt into a pile of mush? How many G's can my 90-year-old body handle? And then suddenly relief. No G's. 0. Weightlessness. We were floating. We got out of our harnesses and began to float around. The other folks went straight into the somersaults and enjoying all the effects of weightlessness. I wanted no part in that. I needed to get to the window as quickly as possible to see what was out there. I looked down and I could see the hole that our spaceship had punched in the thin blue tinged layer of oxygen around Earth. It was as if there was a wake trailing behind where we had just been, and just as soon as I'd noticed it, it disappeared. I continued my self-guided tour and turned my head to face the other direction to stare into space. I love the mystery of the universe. I love all the questions that have come to us over thousands of years of exploration and hypotheses. Stars exploding years ago, their light traveling to us years later. Black holes absorbing energy, satellites showing us entire galaxies in areas thought to be devoid of matter entirely. All of that has thrilled me for years, but when I looked in the opposite direction into space, there was no mystery, no majestic awe to behold. All I saw was death. I saw a cold, dark, black emptiness. It was unlike any blackness you can see or feel on Earth. It was deep, enveloping, all-encompassing. I turned back toward the light of home. I could see the curvature of Earth, the beige of the desert, the white of the clouds, and the blue of the sky. It was life, nurturing, sustaining, like Mother Earth, Gaia, and I was leaving her. Everything I had thought was wrong. Everything I had expected to see was wrong. I had thought that going into space would be the ultimate catharsis of that connection I had been looking for between all living things, that being up there would be the next beautiful step to understanding the harmony of the universe. In the film Contact, when Jodie Foster's character goes to space and looks out into the heavens, she lets out an astonished whisper. They should have sent a poet. I had a different experience, because I discovered that the beauty isn't out there, it's down here with all of us. Leaving that behind made my connection to our tiny planet even more profound. It was among the strongest feelings of grief I have ever encountered. Okay, now this sounds very different than what he said. The contrast between the vicious coldness of space and the warm nurturing of Earth below filled me with overwhelming sadness. Every day we are confronted with the knowledge of further destruction of Earth at our hands, the extinction of animal species, of flora and fauna, things that took 5 billion years to evolve, and suddenly we will never see them again because of the interference of mankind. It filled me with dread. My trip to space was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it felt like a funeral. Okay, now this is in stark contrast to what he had just said. So I don't know what's going on here. It seems like two different opinions. What's your opinion? Leave a comment down below. What Hebrew day were both of the temples destroyed on?
9th of Avenue, according to moon travel guides. According to Jewish traditions, both temples were destroyed on the 9th of Av on the Jewish calendar.
What day does the 9th of the Hebrew month Av fall on in 2024? The 9th of the Hebrew month Av, also known as Tish B'Av, will fall on Tuesday, August 13th. All I keep thinking of is what William Shatner may have seen, and maybe he is not allowed to speak about it. I don't know. But I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but why do they have to wait, these astronauts, Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore, until January or February of 2025? What's going on? Is there something in space that could be preventing them from coming back to the Earth? Is there some kind of an obstruction up there? I don't know. But I did come across this video, and I'm going to play it for you, just, for you to, wrap your mind around what could be up there. I know in the book of Luke, chapter 21, verses 25 through 28, it talks about signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. So please, I don't know what to say. Get to know who your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is right away. I believe that we are so very close with everything that is going on with Israel being surrounded by her enemies. And I'm recording this again, I said, on August 11th. Tish B'Av is next week. I believe it's Tuesday, August 13th. Is something going to happen? That's the anniversary of the destruction of the temple. Will one of Israel's enemies decide this will be the day to attack? I don't know. But please, we are not subjected to God's wrath. You will be taken up. If you believe upon him in your heart, accept him today, repent of all sinning, and you will be winning your free gift of salvation. And may God bless you. I will end with that clip that a man took from his window in New York City. Let me show you. more thing. I had the vision of a planet with a metal bracket attached to it in outer space at 2:42 p.m. on Wednesday, June 12th. So I did look that up on Strong's Greek Concordance. 242 is the word hello mahi. The definition is to leap up, of water, I spring up, bubble up. And it did take me to scripture, the book of John, chapter 4, verse 14. And this is the verse with the Samaritan woman meets her Messiah, the woman at the well. If you start at 11, it says, the woman said to him, Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as well as his sons and his livestock? Jesus answered and said to her, Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman said to him, Sir, give me this water that I may not thirst nor come here to draw. Jesus said to her, Go call your husband and come here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said to her, You have well said, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. In that you spoke truly. The woman said to him, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship. Jesus said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour has come when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. The woman said to him, I know that Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he. So I believe this is a foretelling of Jesus Christ coming in the rapture to take his bride up. So please believe upon him now, and you will be going up with him to New Jerusalem into heavenly paradise.